Hi, welcome to this session in the Titration video series. In this module, we're going to be looking at how you can use external orchestrators in Titration to ingest context data and metadata from third-party orchestrators. We're going to focus in specific on vCenter and Kubernetes, but that is not an exhaustive list. You can talk about things like AWS, Infoblocks, ADCs like F5 and Citrix. So Remi, today we're going to be configuring vCenter and Kubernetes, two of our favorite orchestrators, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure why you picked those ones, but okay, let's go through that.
They seem to be the two most common ones that we find around, right?
Okay.
Maybe AWS actually as well.
AWS.
One of them is on-prem and part of the old school virtualization wave, vCenter that is, and Kubernetes, well, that's the hot new thing that everyone wants to be talking about, right? So
that sounds fair.
Let's take a look at how we can do both of these.
Isn't there a little twist as well? Like we're also going to show you how you can run them on-prem and connect to cloud.
That's true, actually. So that's a bonus example there as well. So we actually do have a vCenter, which is on-prem, which we can connect to directly from our Titration cluster. But our Kubernetes cluster is up in the cloud. It's actually not accessible directly from the internet. So we need to be able to tunnel our way through to that Kubernetes cluster so that we can reach the API of that and pull all of that metadata about the pods and services that are inside that Kubernetes cluster.
Looks good.
Sounds fun, right? We're going to get to do some real configuration here. So,
no PowerPoint.
No PowerPoint at all in this session. So, what we are going to begin with is connecting us to vCenter. So, just quickly, and we'll come back and look at this, we have our vCenter client up here, or our vSphere client to be exact. And we have a device here, vCenter Linux 1, which has a vCenter tag applied to it. So the goal here, when we finish connecting this to Titration, is we would like to have visibility inside Titration around this workload, and more specifically, we want to be able to see that this tag from vCenter is visible inside the Titration inventory. If you want to know more about the inventory, there is also a module in this video series exactly on what the inventory is and the benefits that provides.
Sounds good. Quick question. You went directly to tags, but I think I remember there's something called custom attributes in VMware as well. Which one am I using? Which one are we using in Titration? Let's put it like that.
That is a very good question, and it's something that people always get stuck up on. Can you tell me which one we're using?
Yeah, the reason I'm saying, so VMware seems to be deprecating custom attributes, and they're starting to be pushing towards tags, if I understood correctly.
I swear at one point custom attributes was removed from the UI, and then it came back later as well. So.
Make up their mind at some point. But anyway, in the case of Titration, we're clear it's tags and tags only.
We're focusing on the tags here, the tags that you can apply here.
Perfect.
They're in a key value form. You can see that the key is vCenter tag, and the value in this case is tag _ from _ vCenter.
Sounds good.
So the first thing that we need to do, and it's actually quite simple, is we're going to come over to our visibility tab on the left-hand side. Okay. And under the visibility tab, well, we want to configure an external orchestrator, so we select that one.
Pretty straightforward so far.
Yep, seems simple enough. And then we click Create New Configuration. So now it's going to ask us for a little bit more information, and what we are going to want to do is select the type. So you can see here, like we introduced at the start of this video, there's actually a lot of external orchestrators that we support. We just couldn't go through every single one of them in this video series. We're looking at vCenter and Kubernetes, but you can read for yourself that there's a lot more there to configure. So let's choose vCenter.
Okay, up to there, looks good.
And we're going to just call it, I don't know, demo vCenter. And I'm going to put in some information about this. So firstly, I need to pass the administrator credentials. Actually, I don't have to pass administrator credentials. They need to be high privilege enough to read, access the vCenter environment. It doesn't have to have write access to that vCenter to pull these tags. But like we do in a lab, we always use the most privileged default account. And we're going to use our super secret password here.
So what you're saying, in a lab environment, so Titration will not take any actions on vCenter, but in a lab environment, to make sort of our life a bit easier, a new customer comes in, wants to play with it, it's kind of simpler to just go and roll with that if it's lab and control space. But should you want to create an account for it, there's no problem either, right?
Absolutely no problem. And in fact, in a production environment, we probably would recommend that you go for a read-only account as well.
That sounds a better idea.
It sounds like the smart thing to do. And then finally, we need to actually point Titration to this vCenter.
What's that CSR thing there?
Oh, so number one, CA cert is if we wanted to validate the certificate that's presented by that vCenter, either whether it's a self-signed certificate or it's a certificate signed by a custom PKI infrastructure, you might want to put that CA certificate there.
Okay, so validates the vCenter, basically the vCenter we're expecting, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And that actually helps me catch something I might have missed, which is, in my case, like I am using administrator credentials, I'm also in a lab using a self-signed certificate, so it does make sense to click this in secure.
Okay.
Probably not recommended in production again, but here we are. So we choose our host list. You could have one or more here. We're just going to connect to one, and it's going to be 172.26.0.150, port 443. So this is the address of my vCenter. We're going to connect to it over HTTPS, and I'm going to create that new orchestrator configuration. So,
no, Tim, it failed.
Uh-oh. Firstly, it's asking me to save this into one password. I'm going to avoid that one. And here you will see this, don't panic. I know your natural inclination is to panic, but you don't need to panic. Waiting to connect.
Okay.
If you see this 10 minutes later and it still says failure, then that means we've actually failed. Then we can panic, right?
I see.
But, oh,
dang it.
Just as we were talking, you can see here that the connection status has gone to success, which means that we are now actually connected to that vCenter. We've authenticated correctly, and we're going to start pulling in that context data from vCenter. So we're going to see the VMs and the tags that might have been applied to those VMs and any other metadata that is relevant to pull in from vCenter.
Okay. Now, show me Kubernetes. Kubernetes has no username and password concept as per vCenter, so...
No, here we're going to have to start talking about certificates and keys and all of those kind of fun things.
Now again, fun.
I promise you it's still not going to be too difficult to configure Kubernetes. So, actually, let's walk through the kind of things that we're going to need to configure a Kubernetes cluster. So, when we click Create Configuration, we can choose from the drop-down list here, Kubernetes. And underneath that drop-down list, we're going to need a couple of things. So we're not going to use a username and password here. That's not the way that Kubernetes likes to do things. They're going to want us to provide a certificate and a key. And we're also going to need to make sure that we use the secure connector tunnel in this setup. And the reason being is that we actually have this Kubernetes cluster locked away in a completely separate network that is not accessible globally. So we're going to tunnel that connection through from the Tetration cluster.
So what you're saying is that, in short, my two options would have been either publicly expose my Kubernetes cluster so people can connect to it, or install this secure connector tunnel to be able to keep it secure and basically just create an outbound connection towards me.
Correct.
Okay.
And this is both useful inside a customer environment and also incredibly useful if you are using Tetration as a service, because this means that you can access your on-premises orchestrators like vCenter, like Kubernetes, or I should say allow that Tetration instance from the cloud to get to your services without having to expose them through your firewall.
Okay.
So let's get started with this. What we're going to need to do first is deploy the secure connector.
Okay.
So what we have done is already deployed a CentOS VM.
Okay.
It's the base requirement of a secure connector. It's just a simple, lightweight VM there that sits in between the Tetration cluster and the orchestrator to tunnel those connections. So it doesn't have to be heavyweight. There is guidance in the documentation about what that should look like. And we're going to install the secure connector.
So basic out of the box, CentOS 7, minimal again,
yes.
All good. Okay.
In fact, actually, I will come over here to my Tetration documentation, just so that we can actually walk through that and maybe visualize it a little bit more. I mean, this is a good point to mention that if you're ever configuring anything inside Tetration, one of the best places to come, apart from this video series, is to look at the documentation on the cluster.
Was that some kind of product placement you just did?
Yes, I just plugged that video series.
Well, I thought.
So what you can see here is the Tetration cluster, the secure connector, and the orchestrators that it is trying to reach. The secure connector, which is this CentOS VM, is going to create an outbound connection, just like the other agents do to the Tetration cluster.
Okay.
That Tetration cluster typically would not be able to pass this network boundary to get to your orchestrators. However, that secure connector is going to allow Tetration to tunnel through it in towards those private services.
I see. So,
shall we do it?
I'm waiting for it.
Okay, let's go ahead and do it. So
we're going to... no PowerPoint, that's cheating, it's a web page. Come on.
Yeah, it's close enough. So we're going to come along here and we're going to... so what we have done...
Step 1, 2, 3, okay.
Yeah, we've got the downloaded version of the agent. We have got ourselves a CentOS box and we're going to come over to that CentOS machine. So here we go. You can see that there is the a couple of files already created here. We've got the secure connector RPM. We have API credentials for this cluster. I'll just check those API credentials. And then we have also copied that Python script from the documentation. That Python script is just going to help us get an API key for that secure connector to securely connect to the titration cluster.
So you're talking about the one which is in transparency, you can see below the... Okay.
Yeah, we've just simply taken this script, copy and pasted it into a new file on that CentOS
okay, and it says you need to get an open API key to be able, okay, makes sense.
So, what we will...
By the way, Tim, you notice there's a Bash version, but I know you're very, very particular about your Python.
I'm a massive Python fan, I do admit. Unfortunately, you can see there is no Go version of this, which is...
Yes.
Oh well, maybe in the future you can create that. So,
I hope so.
We are going to install the... Oh, I'm doing that the other way around.
Capital U.
Oh. There we go. So we created our secure connector. We installed that secure connector. It's going to ask us to create that one-time token in the in that folder etc titration cert registration.token.
Okay.
So we've got that Python script, which was called register.py. We're going to execute that. Didn't look like it did anything.
Something happened?
Something happened. It created this registration.token, which is fantastic. We can then, we're going to stop, and now you're going to have to remind me the name of this service.
I'd say titration-secure connector.
There you go.
Maybe,
If we could read, that would be useful. So we stop that.
Okay.
We're now going to move the registration token to etc titration set.
And you have to call it registration token. Okay, so same name.
Same name. We'll move that over there.
Okay.
And then we will finally start that service again.
Okay. Can you PS maybe show us? Is there something running there? Because up to now it seems a bit like smoke and mirror, but...
Well,
okay, there is something.
We can see that it is running.
Okay.
And we can then go ahead and actually try and configure this to get that secure connector to work.
Let's give it a shot.
So
that's really all we had to do on that side. So basically, copy the RPM file, install the RPM file, then copy, paste the script, which you can use in Bash if you don't have Python running on the box. This can be run on any box, by the way. It doesn't need to be run on the box. Yep. Okay. So it can be done even before deployment.
Could be done ahead of time, yeah.
Okay, and then just stop, start, that's it.
That's it. That's really it. And now the secure connector is going to be waiting for requests from that titration cluster only. It is bound to that titration cluster. It's not going to accept any other proxy requests from any other unauthenticated devices.
Pretty sweet, pretty sweet.
So we've got the secure connector, which looks good. And that means that we could tick this.
Okay.
But we need some information about Kubernetes, right? So let's come over to our Kubernetes cluster here. So I'm on one of my nodes. I don't believe there are any resources deployed on this one at least, but we see via executing that we have access to the Kubernetes cluster.
I guess you could run -- all namespaces if you really wanted to demo.
We could do. I do believe that this is a well-configured.
Okay, let's see, yeah.
So then we take a look here in this folder. Now, just by the magic of demo preparation, we've created a couple of scripts here just to actually generate those users for authenticating to titration. But I'm gonna read them before we execute them as well. So we have number one, which is to generate the key.
Okay.
So we will generate a key using OpenSSL, simple enough there.
Okay, that's
going to be 2048 bits there. So we will say O1 gen key. Boom, we have a key created.
Do we? We do.
Titration.key. You really are skeptical sometimes, Remi.
Totally skeptical of you.
When it's me, I don't blame you. Number 2, we are going to generate a cert. So we generate a cert. Actually, in specific, we generate a certificate signing request in this case, which we're then going to sign with the Kubernetes root CA. So we have that certificate request there, hopefully. If I execute it, there we go.
Just to clarify, that's okay. The CN titration, that's the username you're creating inside Kube, right? So that needs to match when we talk about the role binding.
Yes,
okay.
That's true. Make sure to pay attention to that.
Yeah, I would.
I'm glad you have me, or I have you with me today.
Yeah, for this critical piece of data.
And then so finally, we need to sign that script. Okay. So we can go ahead and execute that. I'm not going to walk through every single parameter in there unless you so want to do so.
Is there a CSR first? Because I mean, you just jumped directly there. I want to see the CSR.
Okay.
There is
the
CSR.
CSR.
You, so okay.
What am I going to have to do to get you to trust me one day?
I don't know. You've been trained for a long time.
Yeah, years now. So now we'll sign that request. Signature OK.
Okay.
We've created that. So now we should have certificate, the key, and then finally, we actually have to inform Kubernetes about this change, right? We need to create the cluster, create the user on the cluster, I should say. And to do that, we're going to pass this role binding YAML file in. So it's just going to create a user with the name titration, which matches the CN of that certificate. Simple enough. And we're going to just execute the...
Just as usual, we did cluster admin here, but could have been something else.
It could have been something else. Yeah. It doesn't require every single privilege. And we will apply that role binding, which, again, worked. We will come along here and we can now start putting some of these details into the titration cluster.
So what do I actually need from there now to go and configure titration? What are the files I need to look at?
Well, the one file you're going to need is the key.
Okay.
You're also going to need the certificate.
Okay.
So we'll go through and do those two first. So we'll take the key and we'll copy that.
Obviously, if you were running a proper CA with signed certs and so on, you would not cat it.
Being careful to select this.
Tim, with that touchpad, come on, you can do it. Yes.
There we go.
Okay.
So we'll put that in.
Should we call for support? Or?
I think we do need tech support. We then need the certificate.
Okay.
And that's going to be the CRT, not the CSR.
Okay.
We'll come here again with this very tiny. See, that was not me again. Copy that one.
This is doppelganger next to you, okay.
And then finally, do we need any of these? Do we need the auth token?
No, those will be for other platform.
Do we need the CA certificate?
I don't know. You can also just, I mean, not saying that you should do that in prod, but yeah, the lazy way out is just click on insecure.
Yeah, so Remi is correct. In prod, we probably do want to make sure that we do put the CA certificate in there or make sure that we are using a officially signed certificate. In this case, we are going to go ahead and say insecure.
Sounds fair.
Finally, we're going to come over to our host list. Just double check before we move to the host list. And we might actually be missing a name. So that's fine.
That name can be anything, right? I mean,
yes, it can be different from the cluster name. There's no real restrictions on what that particular name might be.
So that's like local titration, local sort of.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And then finally, we're going to come and put our host list in. So this is the host list of the Kubernetes API here.
Okay, so our masters basically would be most of the case? Okay.
Correct. So as you can see here, we're also in a lab where our master also happens to be a node if you have keen eyes. But we're going to take the interface address of this one here, copy that, put that into our host name here, and Kubernetes listens on 6443, so just be aware of that one when you're putting it in.
Okay.
And finally, everything look good to you?
I think so.
Let's go ahead and click create. Don't panic if it says failure, by the way. Don't panic this time. Don't panic.
Go ahead, we've got this.
Let's do it. Okay, all right. You can panic later. So we can still see that the vCenter one is connected.
That's a good start.
The Kubernetes one is going to also reach out via that secure connector to connect into the Kubernetes cluster. And at this point, we can actually start to inspect what Tetration is beginning to learn about those workloads in that environment. So while we wait for this one to connect through and start pulling that information in, we could take a look at exactly what we can see coming in from vCenter. If you remember, we had that vCenter tag, and we want to be able to see that that vCenter tag is reflected inside Tetration.
Okay, let's go.
Oh, as we were waiting, it's
Magic.
almost like the demo gods looked down on us and said, success.
And we might pay for that later.
We will pay for that later. You always pay for things later. But here you can see at least that the configuration has worked. Both of these are now synchronized with Tetration, so we have both vCenter and Kubernetes feeding contextual metadata about the workloads running on those orchestration systems into our inventory.
And just to clarify, if I wanted now to go and say, move vCenter behind the same network where I have a secure connector, my only task is just tick the box.
Correct.
Now. So I don't need to deploy any other connector, nothing else.
No, that one connector can serve for multiple orchestrators.
Pretty nice.
And also, you're not limited to just one vCenter or one Kubernetes. You could have many of them.
Okay, nice.
So let's head over to our inventory search. This is where we'll actually be able to look through our inventory and see what we've pulled in about particular workloads. So if we come to our inventory search, you will be able to mouse over this, and we can see that it is starting to actually show knowledge about both Kubernetes information and vCenter. So here we can see things like the kubelet version, the pod template hash, the service name, everything that you would expect to see when it comes to contextual metadata if you're a Kubernetes admin. At the same time, we can see that orchestrator vCenter tag, which is useful for that vCenter admin. It's down there at the very bottom there. Hopefully everyone can spy that.
Okay. So there, let's take, so vCenter is pretty simple. I saw you creating that tag,
Yes.
so that was simple. In the case of Kube, so there's a bunch of system-driven tags which are already there.
Yes.
And if I was to add in my manifest file some other form of tag and so on, they would show up in the exact same way there?
They would show up in exactly the same way. They get treated as a first-class citizen.
Great. So that means that if I could call the orchestrator vCenter tag, and I could create the exact same tag in Kubernetes, for example. Hopefully I would rename it.
Yes.
And then I could use, like, for example, app equals web, and I could use the same tag across both environments.
Yes.
Very nice.
Exactly. So let's see if we can actually search for one of these. Let's look for our vCenter tag. We'll see something that contains tag. And there we go. So I'm just going to actually show the details about that. So we'll pick out this vCenter tag here. And we will see that there are actually two workloads, one with 191 and one with 195 as the address. That has been pulled in from vCenter, and they both have that tag from vCenter applied to them. To just prove that out, we can switch over to vCenter here. We can see Linux 1 has that address 172.20.0.191, and if we check Linux 2, we'll also see that it is 195. So even though we don't actually have the Tetration agent deployed on those workloads, we still get that contextual metadata. We can still use that in policy, and then if later we choose to install that agent on that workload, we'll see things like the OS and the hostname begin to fill out.
Very nice. So basically it's a merge.
It's a merge. And the more data that you feed into the system, it doesn't replace anything, it just continues to build up more and more information that we know about any given workload.
Sounds good.
Okay.
That looked pretty easy, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, that was pretty smooth, right? And now we can begin to build scopes using those tags. We can begin to build filters. We can apply policies based on those tags that we brought in from those external systems.
So would the recommendation be, I mean, at least from our side, well, you should deploy tags coming from orchestrators as first-class citizen, extend to other stuff, or would it be, no, use other systems? What would be the approach we should go for?
I think you really want to have tags that you have control over yourself, like you saw in the scope and the inventory systems, but you also do want to pull as much information that you can from those orchestrators, because ultimately the orchestrator is the real ground truth. Whatever is in the orchestrator has to be treated as the exactly what the application developer has specified, and it is constantly changing, and it keeps up to date with what those workloads are doing. Especially in the context of Kubernetes, it's imperative that you know the metadata about the workloads inside that environment, and it has to be fed into us from Kubernetes as pods spin up, they spin down, they move around. All of those things have to be dealt with in a dynamic way.
I see. So if dynamicity is a strong driver, Orchestrator should be the way to go. Then you can mix and match depending on who you trust, in short.
Yes.
Okay. Sounds good.
Sounds good. And I think that was a pretty effective walkthrough of how we can bring tags in from vCenter, Kubernetes, and all of the other orchestrators that we didn't even have time to touch today.
That was good.
Thank you for joining me, Remi. Thank you for joining me. I hope that was a useful session. That concludes this session. If you would like any more information on titration, please do head to cisco.com/go/titration.